back. I'm really, really proud of myself that I did actually come back, and I'm doing another one, because I tend to start these projects, do one, and then it's like, yeah, and then I just never carry on again. But I'm determined. So what is the re-education of Miss Figa DJ? Well, I said that this year I was going to educate myself on artists. Oh, what's this? Is a plait. Just, oh, I have hair. I shaved my hair off. If you head to my Insta, like literally a few weeks ago, I had no hair. So yeah, it's grown. Extensions, darling, extensions. I digress. Okay, let's just start again. Okay, so yeah. Welcome to episode 2 of the re-education of Miss Figa DJ. And I did say that this year I was going to educate myself on artists, and what the re-education of Miss Figa DJ is. Basically, I do my research on an artist or genre and basically educate myself on that artist or genre. And what I'll do is I'll do a mix. Now, the last one I did the mix first and then did the video commentary. But this time I'm doing the video first and then I'm going to do the mix. So the mix should be out basically at the same time. I plan to do like one a month. At first I was like, should I not? Because as an artist, it was somebody that, yeah, I was aware of their work. I was aware of how legendary they are and the impact that they've had on music generally. And there were a few tracks that I popped in my set every now and then. But it's not an artist that I would say I actually stop and, you know, as I'm chilling, let me put them on. So I wasn't too familiar with their full body of work. So the artist is Prince, the purple one. The artist formerly known as Prince. He went by lots and lots of pseudonyms. We'll touch on that in a bit. And shout out to Ben from the virtual pub for picking this artist for me. So shall we get into it? Let's just get into it. It's the re-education of Miss Figa DJ. And yeah, if you want to listen to the mix, head to my Mixcloud or iTunes. Normally, if you just Google at Figa DJ, F-I-G-A DJ, be here or here somewhere. Be on the screen or in the comments. I love it when people do that in the comments down below. Then you can listen to the mix. I've got to try and cram in 40 years worth of information on this artist. So I'm not going to touch on everything. There is lots of other information out there as well. But I'm going to basically stick to the stuff that kind of stood out to me and the stuff that I learned. It's the re-education of Miss Figa DJ. Stay tuned. So Prince Rogers Nelson was born in 1958 and sadly passed away in 2016. He was known as Skipper to his family because he didn't like the name Prince, and he came from a very musical background. Both his mum and his dad were musicians, and basically his dad had a group called the Prince Rogers Trio, and his mum was in that band as well. They split while he was quite young, and that did actually affect him quite deeply. He's gone on record as saying it affected him deeply, basically. And I think he was always chasing that, what's the word I'm looking for? Trying to kind of live up to his dad and make his dad proud type thing. That's the impression I get from my research. And when I say research, I've literally been watching YouTube videos, listening to the music, listening to his music, watching interviews on him and things like that. So that was the kind of the feel that I got. Basically had so many different styles of music, and it's hard to say that he had one particular style. He was influenced by jazz and funk, which is clear. And I think a lot of that is because he was so musical himself. He played over 29 instruments. And even on his first album, there was only one song where he didn't play, produce, write and sing the whole song. So he was an absolute genius. How many other artists out there can go into a studio, basically produce the beat, as in play every single instrument on there, produce it, as in go into the engineering booth and then produce the sounds that way, then lay their own vocals and put it all together and actually write the lyrics to the song as well. That's very, very, very rare of an artist. Normally people have their lane and they stick to it, whether they're a writer, singer, rapper, whatever. But Prince did it all. When I say it's hard to, if I'm looking down, it's because I've actually put notes together for this one. The last one I kind of just did it off my dome, and when I watched it back, there's a lot of stuff that I'd forgotten, so I've got notes. Yeah, so he basically did everything from funk, R&B, Latin, rock, new wave, soul, synth pop, and in his later years he actually added a bit of hip hop in there as well. Industrial, I don't know what that means, but I think it's kind of, if you look at Purple Rain, it has got that industrial kind of feel. So he basically pioneered what was known as the Minneapolis sound, and that was like a rock funk subgenre that became popular in Minneapolis, and the world looked back on it from Minneapolis. And what I thought was really endearing as well was initially in his early years, whereas a lot of artists, well, there weren't very many artists from Minneapolis at the time, and we're talking 1970s, he basically said, no, I'm not leaving, I'm staying here, I'm going to produce my own stuff, I'm going to become one of the biggest artists in the world from where I was raised and do it from here. And basically, this came true. He was prolific in the sound, in the music that he made. He made over 39 studio albums, and at the time of his death, he'd written, the estimates are between 500 to 1,000 songs. There's a massive catalogue. Basically, it's still unreleased to this day. He's got over 50 music videos that have not been released as well. And the artistry, oh my gosh, this is something that when I was looking at it, I was like, this dude is really, really ahead of his time. And it showed in the way that he did business. A lot of the time through his career, it kind of let him down a bit, as in he was too far ahead of the curve and people didn't get what he was trying to do. If we look at, for example, his argument with Sony, which led to him changing his name, we can see, let's rewind it. Okay, back at the time, I thought that he was a bit of a diva for doing this, and the media kind of just portrayed him as being a bit doo-doo, cuckoo, cuckoo. But when you actually see the reasons behind it and what was actually going on, he actually did change the way that people do business in the music industry. He foretold the music industry imploding in the way that they control artists. He had slave written on his face for a long time. And again, I just thought he was just being a diva. He was being, weird. But it was basically because if you look at it, the way the music industry worked before was they give you money. And then you make your music. They own your masters. Anything that they pay out, you have to pay back. So you're getting an advance. You might get a 5 million advance. Everybody normally would think, yay, 5 million pounds. Woo, 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 woo. We rich, we getting it. But no, it's basically you're a slave to them. Until you pay them back the money that they've given to you, you're in debt to them. And even then, going forward, the music that you make, they own massive percentages in terms of sort of the royalties and the actual ownership of your music. Now, owning your masters, again, he was a pioneer, as in somebody who was really, at the time, nobody really cared who owned the masters, but this was something that Prince wanted. Creatively, they got along. They never really bothered him creatively. It was just ownership. And he was ahead of the curve in that not a lot of people really were bothered about whether they owned their own music or not. So yeah. He wrote lots and lots of songs for other people under his pseudonyms. So we had the artist formerly known as Prince, the artist Joey Coco the Kid, Alexander Nevermind, Jamie Starr, Tora Tora, Christopher Track. And one of the songs that he wrote that really, really surprised me. Are you ready for this? Alicia Keys, How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore. I absolutely love that song. And I never knew. I thought she wrote it. She obviously performed it, but I thought it was her song. And then I heard Prince's version as well. I think I might put that one in the mix, actually, his version. You'll have to listen to the mix to find out, basically. But he also wrote Nothing Compares to You by Sinead O'Connor. He wrote songs for Cyndi Lauper. So many people that you would just never really imagine. And yeah, that was really, really interesting to me as well. So by the time he died, like I said, he'd done between 500 to 1,000 songs and released 39 studio albums. So basically his legacy is massive and it can go on for ages and ages and ages. So he basically learned to play the piano at the age of 5. And here's another little interesting story for you. when he first started doing piano lessons, this kind of shows his personality throughout. He's very strong-minded and strong-willed. He went for his piano lessons at the age of 5 and didn't like what the piano teacher was telling him to play. So he was like, sod this, I'm going to teach myself. And that's exactly what he did. By the age of 12, he was an accomplished pianist, as in, when you hear, yeah, he was an accomplished pianist. We'll just leave it there. So Prince basically became popular in the 80s, which was, it's fair to say, a bit of a conservative era. People really didn't know how to take Prince at this time when he was coming up. Initially, when you watch sort of early videos, you can see that he's really shy. That never really went away. But I think it added to his enigma, the mystique around him. But he was a black man in the 80s, dressing androgynously. I said it. I was worried I wasn't going to be able to say that word. Dressing androgynously. So he was basically wearing what would have been deemed as women's clothes. He wore the heels. He was very flamboyant in his dress and attire. And making music that people didn't necessarily associate with black people as well. So he was very, very controversial early on. And he basically kind of emitted this sexuality, and he played on it. And like I said, back in the 80s, it was unheard of, and it was very, very controversial. And this kind of helped boost his notoriety. But because he could play his instruments, he was making good music, people kind of just fell in love with him, and it just spawned a new era. So in the early years, Prince basically released an album a year. And it became a little bit more sporadic going forward, and this is because of wranglings with Warner Bros. Now, Prince is very creative and, like I said, very prolific in the amount of songs and material that he was actually producing and making. So he could be in the studio making songs, banging them out with himself and also his other bands, New Power Generation, The Time, and again, like I say, he was ahead of his time. So he wanted to release the stuff as he was producing them, but Warner Bros. And how the music industry ran generally couldn't do that. They couldn't keep up with him. He didn't want to release an album from 4 years ago when he's got music that he's producing today that's more relevant and that he basically thinks, his fans would love. And the record company just weren't down with that. They just literally didn't get it at all. So that caused huge, massive problems again going forward. I'm going to list here now the albums. I might put some pictures. I'll read them out quickly for you. So there was For You 1978, Self-Entitled Prince 1979, Dirty Mind 1980, Controversy 1981, 1999 in 1982, which won his first Grammy nomination for Best Male Vocal Pop and R&B. Purple Rain 1984, first #1 single was When Doves Cry, which was off this album, and he also got two Grammys and a Academy Award. Around the World in a Day 1985, Parade 1986, Sign of the Times 1987, Love Sexy 1988, Batman, probably my least favourite, but it did have a couple of songs on there that I did like. Graffiti Bridge, which he also did a film for as well, Diamonds and Pearls 1991, my absolute favourite Prince album. That's the one that really kind of opened my eyes to Prince and what he was doing. Love Symbol album. This is where we start to get into a bit more of the wranglings and his personality and seeing that he really wasn't happy with Warner Bros. And that album kind of changed the projection, the future of his music and how people saw him and the direction that he was generally going in. So then we have Come in 1994, The Black Album 1994, The Gold Experience 1995, Chaos and Disorder 1996, Emancipation 1996. Now there were 36 tracks on this, and when he started wearing Slave on his face was actually from that album, and when he departed from Warner Bros, and that was his indie debut as well. Crystal Ball, which when you look at the presentation of it, it came in a crystal ball. even to this day, I think that's just, yeah, beautiful, amazing. That was 1998. Then we have The Truth, 1998. The Vault, Old Friends for Sale, 1999. So we haven't even touched the 2000s yet, and you can see the vast amount of albums that he's done. The Rainbow Children, 2001. One Night Alone, 2002. Expectation, 2003. News, that's NEWS, 2003. The Chocolate Invasion, 2004. The Slaughterhouse, 2004. Musicology, 2004. 3121, 2006. Planet Earth, 2007. Lotus Flower, 2009. NPR Sound, 2009. 2010. I can't say this one. Plectrum Electrum, which is a bit out there for me personally. 2014. Art Official Age, 2014. Hit and Run Phase 1, 2015. Hit and Run Phase 2, 2015. So those were the last sort of official releases that he did. But he also released albums and projects with other bands, such as Madhouse, the New Power Generation, MPG Orchestra. He also starred in films. So we had Purple Rain, where he wrote the score for that and also starred in it. It's allegedly based loosely off his own life as well. Oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to get all of this in. Boy, it's going to be some serious editing involved. So he was also acting. Obviously, I've touched on Purple Rain, Under the Cherry Moon, Sign of the Times, Graffiti Bridge, and he also did some TV appearances, which I really didn't know. So this one, it's a bit like, whoa, but yeah, he did it. He did the Muppets. He appeared on the Muppets. He's got a sense of humour, he really has. And that's something that people don't really know. But when you watch him on interviews, he's sassy, he's intelligent, and yeah, he's a character basically as well. And he also did New Girl, and yeah, my man was about.
Hi, I'm Prince. So what seems to be the problem?
Right, so the mix, what am I going to put in the mix? We are definitely going to have Diamonds and Pearls. I didn't know that Rosie Gaines from Closer Than Close, she was like one of the lead singers on New Power Generation. I did not know this. So again, doing this research, I was like, oh, wow. And then when you check the people that were in the bands that he was in and the people that he discovered and stuff like that, amazing. I might try and get some pictures in of people that he's discovered as well. I'm definitely going to have Cream in there, and that was his 5th #1 US single. That was amazing. Get Off. Reasons for those songs that I'm going to get in the mix was basically, I heard them obviously at the time when they were released, as opposed to like 1999 and Purple Rain, which were kind of like generation above me. So I kind of heard them later on. Even though I was there at the time, it wasn't something that I specifically took note of. Whereas with this one, it was like, I actually loved those songs. I saw the videos on MTV. I loved the styling, the sound of it. This is where he really went sort of full on R&B, and you can see him starting to embrace hip hop a little bit more. And I loved it. Loved the styling, loved the actual lyrics of it. So they will definitely be in the mix as well. This was also the time when he started to become known as the artist formerly known as Prince. So in 1994, basically, this is when he started to release albums in quick succession as a means to kind of divorce himself from contractual obligations with Warner Bros. The more albums that he released, obviously, the quicker he could get the contracts over and done with. They weren't playing ball, and he had a vision. He basically, even if you look at like how this is cutting forward a little bit, but he was one of the first people to start selling albums on the internet before even Apple. There was only a few months in it, but basically he started releasing materials on the internet. He saw how powerful the internet was going to be, and people just thought that he was crazy for this. It did hurt his career a little bit, because when you're a pioneer, sometimes with the technicalities and things like that, you don't necessarily foresee certain issues and problems. And how he did it at first was you'd have like a 0800 number or whatever, and if you wanted to buy the album you'd phone that number, but then they had problems with distribution and kind of getting the albums out on time, and it turned out a case where it was probably easier for you to just go into the shop and buy the album. But he was the first to be doing this. He was an actual pioneer. So another album that I'll probably focus on is the Gold Experience. I'm going to start the whole mix with "My Name is Prince." Makes sense. Makes sense to do so. It's a mix about Prince. Let him introduce himself. So that's what I'm going to start the mix with. That is a definite. Also going to put "The Most Beautiful Girl in the World" in there because that is absolutely beautiful. I think there's actually still ongoing a legal dispute over whether he plagiarized the song. So that's ongoing. However, I love the song. Another one that caused quite a bit of controversy as well, "Sexy MF." You all know what an MF is. Yeah, that's another one that's absolutely massive. Now, other songs that I probably will get in there will be 1999. Now, he wrote that in 1982. And again, if you think about it, 1999 was when everybody thought the world was going to end. And he foresaw all of this. Like, he caught the feeling bang on. And it became kind of the anthem for the New Year's Eve millennium. Everyone was playing it. So that song definitely has to be in there. Purple Rain will be in there. Now, I'm thinking Purple Rain should actually be the final song in the mix because that's probably his most popular song, as in when you think of Prince, I think anyway, that's what people think of straight away. Can't forget things like Little Red Corvette. When I'm playing in clubs, that's definitely something that I get in there as well. Now, did you know that Prince was actually responsible for the explicit labels that we have put on CDs being put on there? Basically, Al Gore's wife back in the day bought the Purple Rain album, and there was a song on there called Dear Nikki, and she bought the album for her daughter. It's playing, you know, they're bopping. I don't know how the Gores would have bopped. I think they would have been like this, personally. No, or maybe more like that. Anyway, they were bopping. So basically, Tipper Gore in 1984 bought the album Purple Rain for her daughter and her 11-year-old daughter. And she was bopping in the background when Darling Nikki came on. And I'm just going to read the quote. "When we brought the album home, we put it on our stereo and listened to it together. We heard the words, 'Darling Nikki.' I knew a girl named Nikki. Guess you could say she was a sex fiend. I met her in a hotel lobby with a magazine." So she weren't very happy about this. So she created a group called, let me get this right, Parents Music Resource Centre, or the PMRC. And basically Records put a parental advisory sticker on albums that had explicit content in there, be it sexually violent, whatever. So that got on there. But that led to supermarkets, record shops not stocking certain albums that had that sticker on there. So that also led to, like for DJs, bit of a godsend, it led to artists creating censored versions of their song. So before, if they were swearing on the song, that was it. You took it, you had it. If you can't play it on radio, you can't play it on radio. It is what it is. But it led to them creating censored versions of tracks as well. So yeah, thank you for that, Prince. You can't go without touching on his fashion sense, his hair. If you look at his journey over the years, he's pretty much shocked. Look at the MTV yellow outfit with the chaps on the butt. Classic, iconic, lots and lots of iconic moments as well. So early on, he wore briefs with a trench coat and heels. Now, again, funny little story about how that came about. Basically, his manager said to him one day, because Prince had a habit of going commando at gigs and television appearances and things like that. And his manager said to him, no, this cannot work. I need you to wear underwear. So Prince, being Prince, was like, okay, you want me to wear underwear? I will wear underwear. he wore just underwear. Genius. So basically he started wearing briefs, you know, those little teeny tiny speedos with his heels and trench coat. And that was literally it. Prince, absolute legend. There's so much that I haven't touched on, but if you can do some research on him, watch Purple Rain. There's lots of documentaries. There's a really good documentary on the from the BBC, which I got a lot of my information on as well. So I'll pop the links below as to some of the best places that I found my research on him from as well. Now, his personal life, it's really hard to get specific information. It's kind of, again, the whole enigma about him. So we know that he got married. He got married twice. Unfortunately, the first marriage to backup dancer Mai Tai ended after she had their first son, and he unfortunately died within 7 days of giving birth. And then she had a miscarriage as well, and she's reported to say that he allegedly never really got over this. He did get married again, but there are no children that we're aware of. His legacy, he's got, I think it's 5 siblings. Apparently they're fighting over his estate as we speak. Not fighting, but they still haven't been giving anything from his estate. So that's, again, an ongoing battle. Yeah, so he did actually make up with Warner Bros. And renegotiated a one-off deal, and he was in control this time. He won back his masters, and yeah, he's a very interesting character. So it's fair to say that Prince was an enigma to many, and he was extremely forward-thinking in his approach to music and his creativity, how he put songs together, how he put himself out there. But he was hilarious. Watch this clip. Did
you see the episode of Dave Chappelle?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What do you think of that thing?
Oh, loved it. That's a true story, by the way.
The Charlie Murphy story?
Oh yeah, that's real.
So you guys got together and you guys play basketball?
Oh, definitely.
And you got game?
Oh, definitely. And he don't.
And he don't.
Yeah. And be honest, it ain't that I'm that great. He's just so bad.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Did you have pancakes afterwards?
Well, I didn't make them, but we had pancakes. Yeah. No, I loved it. It was good. You know, what was cool too is Dave came over. He came to one of my shows after, and he's going, "Did you see the skit?" I said, "Yeah. Come on, sit down." And then we're just sitting, chilling. We've been there like 2-3 hours, whatever.
Right.
And then out of nowhere, I just said, "Dave, want some pancakes?"
He was undoubtedly forward-thinking and foresaw the way that the music industry was going, and created projects and conducted his business basically around that. So unfortunately he died in 2016 due to an accidental pain overdose, and there is much controversy around this. Lots of controversy, and also what's the word I'm looking for, conspiracy around this as well. I'm not going to touch too much on that. There's lots on the internet. All I can say that it was untimely, an untimely death, and extremely sad, and we don't know what would have come. Obviously, towards the end of his career, he found Jehovah's Witness, which affected the certain things that he said and some of the content of the music that he brought out. He did attempt to become more spiritual. He's always been spiritual, always believed in God, but like I say, he became a Jehovah's Witness towards the end, which affected how he conducted himself. I like to think that he approached the more anti look. Some of the little afros and stuff, I think to myself, oh, you look like a right little auntie there. But no, I loved his style. I loved his flamboyance. So that's it. End of episode 2 of the re-education of Miss Figs. With over 100 million albums sold, I can truly see why Prince is considered the legend that he truly was. So all that's left for me to say is, Prince, I salute you. The mix will be out at some point in the future, so check out Figa DJ at... No, I was going to give you my email address then. You don't want my email address. Head to my Mixcloud, Figa DJ, iTunes, Figa DJ, Insta, Figa DJ, and everything's there. So yeah, if there's anybody you want me to do for the next one, I've got a few ideas, but I like the challenge of being given someone to do. So let me know. Figure it out. I'll see you on the next one.